On a seemingly ordinary morning in the village of Mottram, in Longdendale, Greater Manchester, tragedy unfolded that would send shockwaves through the United Kingdom. It was September 18, 2012, when the routine patrol of two Greater Manchester police officers, Nicola Hughes and Fiona took a terrifying turn. PCs Fiona and Nicola Hughes didn't stand a chance as they responded to what they thought was a routine report of a burglary. The pair stepped out of their police van and walked up to the front door of a 3-bed maisonette into a slaughter that was so gratuitous the shock still reverberates today. Inside was one-eyed fugitive Dale Cregan, wanted for murdering two gangland rivals. Before the officers had even knocked, the merciless killer burst through the door, shouted police, and unleashed a hail of bullets on the two unarmed officers, probationers who had only just joined Greater Manchester Police. He tossed a hand grenade at their dying bodies and then calmly handed himself in at the nearest police station. This is the story of infamous British gangster and serial killer Dale Cregan. You are watching OCG TV. Chapter 1. Making a Murderer. Familial challenges and a descent into a world of criminality marked Dale Cregan's early life. Born on June 6, 1983 in Greater Manchester to parents Paul and Anita Marie, Dale was the middle child in the family with an elder brother and a younger sister. He attended Little Moss High School in Droylsden, where he would take the first steps into a life of crime. While in high school, he began selling drugs to generate additional income. This early foray into the drug trade marked the beginning of a criminal path that would define much of his adult life. Despite the potential for a different future, Dale's aggression remained a constant in his life. Fistfights with other individuals in the community became a regular occurrence, reflecting a pattern of confrontational behaviour. His decision not to pursue higher education and instead enter the drug trade highlighted a willingness to embrace a life of easy money, even at the risk of engaging in illegal activities. Aged 19, he was a plasterer and a roofer who headed to Tenerife to entice holidaymakers to part with their savings in Cayo Savaca. He would rip off elderly couples for cash in a timeshare scam after plying them with booze in local bars. The owner of a bar called Three Horseshoes, who would give his name only as Jason, remembers Cregan and told the Daily Mirror that he was feared on the island and nobody would mess with him. It was during this time that he deepened his engagement with criminality by using illegal earnings to purchase firearms, building a collection of large guns. By the age of 22, Cregan transitioned to selling cocaine, reaping substantial profits of close to £20,000 per week. This allowed him to lead a life filled with holidays to exotic destinations, booking suites in high-end hotels and making frequent visits to Amsterdam and Thailand. He used his ill-gotten gains to travel the world, staying in the lap of luxury, and it was during one of his frequent trips to Thailand that he lost his left eye. There is some mystery over how he lost his eye, whether it was for refusing to pay a Thai prostitute or some kind of revenge attack for unpaid drug debts. It was probably inflicted with a barbarous ring with a miniature knife blade instead of a stone. Cregan used to boast that Thai police put his eye out with a knuckle duster. Cregan returned to the UK with a black onyx false eye, even more intent on raising hell in his home city, Manchester. His life revolved around steroid boost workouts at Ultimate Fitness, a boxing and martial arts gym in a converted warehouse outside Stalybridge. Despite his criminal activities and violent tendencies, he established a serious romantic relationship with Georgia Merriman. Becoming a father at the age of 24, Cregan and his family resided in a grand 3-bedroom apartment in Droylsden. It was the birth of his son that anchored him back to Manchester, and he quickly rose up through the city's criminal hierarchy. He was eager to join in the gangland feud against the Short family, whose members had tried to bully him as a child. Chapter 2. The Shorts. The trigger for the senseless killings of two police officers and a father and son could scarcely be more pathetic. A bottle of WKD thrown by a drunken woman at a member of a family she didn't like. The Alcopop bottle was chucked by Teresa Atkinson, matriarch of the Atkinsons, a family notorious in the Droylsden area of East Manchester for their criminal ways. Her target was Raymond Young, whose response, according to witnesses in Droylsden's Cotton Tree pub, was to slap Atkinson with the back of his hand. Young was a close associate of the equally well-known Short family, longtime rivals of the Atkinsons. It was this booze-fueled row that was the catalyst for a 4-month terror spree that left 4 dead and put 10 men in the dock at Preston Crown Court sometime later. On the day he shot dead Mark Short in the Cotton Tree pub, Cregan had completed a hard gym session, drunk 10 bottles of Peroni and snorted cocaine. Mark Short, 23 at the time, was playing pool with friends before midnight when a masked gunman burst in and opened fire with a semi-automatic pistol, killing the amateur boxer and father of one with a shot to the neck. His father, David Short, was perhaps the intended target. He was in the toilets at the time of the gunman bursting in, returning only to hold his dying son in his arms. Cregan, meanwhile, celebrated the assassination with his friends by flying business class to Thailand for a holiday at the luxury peace resort on the paradise island of Koh Samui. When he stepped off the return flight into Manchester, detectives were waiting and arrested him on suspicion of murder. He said nothing during the interview and was released on bail. He lay low for a while and decided he had to murder the father, David Short, the much feared and heavily convicted head of the Short family. Although David Short's partner denied it, evidence was heard in his subsequent trial that Short had threatened to take his revenge for his son's killing by murdering and raping people close to Cregan. Wilkinson and Cregan had staked out Droylsden Cemetery, where David Short would visit his son's graveside 3 times each day, but changed their plans when he didn't turn up. They were to then conduct surveillance outside his home in Clayton, waiting in a hired van kitted out with duvets and pillows for what they thought could be a long wait. Short was unloading new furniture from the boot of his car when he was attacked outside his home. Cregan and Wilkinson chased him through the house, shooting wildly. Desperately trying to get away, he collapsed behind a gate in an alleyway where more shots were fired down onto him. Cregan cruelly finished the job by throwing the grenade on his prone victim. Later that day, Cregan was named for the first time as wanted in connection with the murder of both Shorts, and his startling police mugshot was released to the media. The hunt was on for the one-eyed fugitive. A £50,000 reward was available for information leading to his capture. It tempted nobody. It is believed Cregan had been able to go drinking in Tameside pubs despite being Britain's most wanted man. Later, in custody, Cregan told a psychiatrist he had the best night's sleep of his life after killing David Short, who he claimed had been threatening to sexually assault his child as revenge for the shooting dead of his son. I shot David Short point blank in the head 3 times, but I would have preferred it if I would have used a knife. I felt calm before killing David Short, but after, a big relief rushed through my body. If I'd had time, I would have cut his head off and arms and legs. I would have gone and got a knife from the kitchen and used that. The thoughts were such, I knew I would have to do it. However, after I killed Mark Short, he said he would rape my son. He said he would set him on fire. He threatened my whole family. The gloves are off, so I was always going to kill him. CCTV footage capturing the attack circulated widely, triggering a nationwide manhunt. Cregan's image loomed large on massive billboards, accompanied by a monetary reward for any information leading to his arrest. Despite the execution of 50 raids across the country, the pursuit proved futile. Cregan remained elusive for 42 days, and when he eventually resurfaced, the consequences were disastrous. Chapter 3. The Ambush. On that fateful September morning in 2012, police officers Nicola Hughes and Fiona responded to an innocuous 999 call. The anonymous caller, a young man, reported a robbery, seeing someone throw a concrete slab through their back window and run off.
Someone just threw a big concrete slab through my back window and ran off.
What's the address there, please?
30 Abbey Gardens, Mottram. How long would it take, do you know, roughly?
Because it's just happened, it's gone in on the priority, so that's within the hour, certainly. But
okay.
They'll try and get up there as soon as, if there's a possibility he's still knocking about.
All right then. Thanks very much.
Okay.
I'll wait. I'll be waiting.
The call led them to Abbey Gardens. Unbeknownst to the officers, it was a carefully orchestrated trap. As the officers approached the house where the burglary had been reported, they walked into a meticulously laid ambush. In just 31 seconds, Cregan unleashed a barrage of 32 gunshots from a Glock pistol. The officers made a tactical retreat, but Cregan was in pursuit, firing shots that hit Hughes's back, paralyzing her. As she lay on her front on the garden path, he shot her 3 more times before turning his attention to Bone. She was trapped in front of the living room window, and he discharged 24 shots at her. She managed to fire her taser but missed, and Cregan killed her with a shot to the heart. He then returned to Hughes, firing 3 more shots into her head. Before he fled, he left what had become his calling card, a fragmentation grenade which he threw at the women as they lay on the ground. The sheer audacity and ruthlessness of the assault sent shockwaves not only through the policing community, but across the whole of the United Kingdom. He then drove at speed to Hyde police station, where he turned himself in, announcing he had killed 2 officers. "Sorry about those 2 that have been killed. I wish it was men. I've dropped the gun at the scene and I've murdered 2 police officers. You were hounding my family, so I took it out on yous. I'm wanted by the police and I've just done 2 coppers." Chapter 4. The Final Page. On September 21st, 2012, he appeared before magistrates and was remanded in custody. The subsequent court proceedings would unravel a web of criminality, revenge, and the unsettling details of Cregan's life. During the trial, it became evident that Cregan, far from expressing remorse, had celebrated the night before the murders. His brazen admission that he had done 2 coppers reflected a chilling lack of empathy, further amplified when he claimed his only regret was killing female officers. Chief Superintendent Nick Adderley dismissed this as nonsense, highlighting that Cregan had sufficient time to observe that it was petite female officers approaching the house. Dale Cregan moved from clean skin to stone-faced killer so swiftly that psychologists have speculated that he suffered injury to his prefrontal cortex in the Thai bar where he lost his eye. The trial, which commenced on February 4, 2013 at Preston Crown Court, involved Cregan and 9 co-accused charged with murder and attempted murder. As the proceedings unfolded, Cregan's facade crumbled. On February 12, 2013, he changed his plea to guilty for the murders of Nicola Hughes and Fiona Bone. In a shocking revelation on May 22, 2013, he also pleaded guilty to the murders of David and Mark Short. The court's decision on June 13, 2013 marked the conclusion of the legal battle. Cregan was sentenced to life imprisonment for the 4 murders with a whole life order. The sentencing reflected the severity of his crimes and the irrevocable loss suffered by the victims' families and the wider community. Cregan's calculated trap, luring the officers to their deaths under the guise of a seemingly innocuous incident, demonstrated a level of premeditation and ruthlessness that shook the foundations of public safety. The subsequent nationwide manhunt, the extensive media coverage, and the high-profile trial revealed the broader implications of Cregan's actions, shining a spotlight on the challenges faced by law enforcement in combating deeply entrenched criminal networks. The verdict and life sentence delivered to Cregan provided a measure of justice, yet the scars left by the events of that fateful day continue to resonate in the collective memory of Greater Manchester. The sacrifices made by PC Nicola Hughes and PC Fiona Bone serve as a tragic tribute to the dedication and bravery of those who stand on the front lines to protect their communities.